Hey, Pin Dude here. Welcome to my vintage pinball. Today's episode is just going to be a real short, small workshop update. Maybe I'll do these from time to time when I make some changes in the shop. And I made a few changes that I'm really happy with, and I wanted to share them with you guys. I also got a couple small tools that I'll show in this episode. So let's get started. Alright, so if you saw my original workshop walkthrough video that I made a few months ago, this is my main workbench that I work on. And I've really been working on getting my tools more accessible, getting more stuff on the pegboards, and not having things tucked away in a toolbox, all piled up in a drawer where it's difficult to find what you're looking for and it's time consuming. Previously a lot of my tools were in this Red Craftsman toolbox, and there's another Red Craftsman toolbox down under that workbench. And, it just would get so cluttered. These drawers are deep and everything's piled in. It's hard to find stuff. So I've really been working on getting stuff more accessible. So I had done that, and that all looks great up there. But the workbench, I never really had much organization on the workbench. So that's what I worked on in the last couple weeks here. And I'll start right here on this end of the workbench. So I have a computer here that I can access my pictures that I take of, my before pictures, and then I pull them up on this monitor so that I can, take a look at them when I'm putting things back together to make sure I'm putting things back together right. I can also, this is connected to the internet, so if I need to look something up, I use that. So what I did to save some space, because previously this keyboard and mouse was just taking up valuable space on the workbench, so I just took some scrap wood that I had laying around the shop. There's some Lawan here, and I don't know why I had these, are 2x2s, and I just cut them up and screwed together a little keyboard stand here. So I have my keyboard here and my mouse, and now I have space underneath, so I'm not taking up any workbench space, and I can have storage under there. I also drilled some holes in the top so I can have some little screwdrivers and a pick, and I got my security bits here. So everything's nice and organized there. So next to that little stand, I have another tool that I use quite a lot. This is a Dynamo label maker. And instead of having that handheld one with the keyboard, I used to have one of those. This one's USB, and the software to run it is pre-installed on the unit. So you just plug it into USB, and it works just like the other label maker. It takes the same kind of tape. And the program, you just plug it in to a USB, and the program comes up on your screen. So here's your little text box, and instead of having to type on the keyboard, you can just type on your regular keyboard here. Hit print. And then there's your label, as easy as that. So I really like that, and I like that I have it out, and it's here all the time now whenever I need it. Also, my multimeter was always tucked away in the toolbox where I had to go digging it for it, and the wires, the wires would always be all knotted up and everything. I'd have to unknot them every time I went to use it. So now my meter's here. I neatly hang the wires right here, so when I'm working on something on the bench, I just grab the wires, turn it on, and we're ready to go. And then hanging up here are the alligator clips for the meter. So everything's right here, nice and easily accessible. I also bought one of these cut-in mats. Seems like all you guys in pinball have one of these. Every time I see a picture of somebody selling a part, it's sitting on one of these grid mats. Usually they're green. This one happens to be black because it was cheap. And this is made by Vantage. It is a 24-inch by 18-inch cut-in mat. I got it on Amazon, and it was 12 bucks, and I really like it. I haven't cut on it yet, but it's nice to have a firm yet still kind of rubbery surface to work on, and it's really beefy. I really like it. I'll put a link to that in the video here. And then over here, I never had my soldering irons out before that. My soldering irons were always in a drawer. And same thing as the meter, the cords would always get all knotted, and the cords from the two irons would twist together, and it would take 5 minutes to set up the irons. So now I got the irons set up without really taking up too much space on the bench. Same as my keyboard stand, I used the same scrap wood I had laying around the shop, and I just made this little stand to put my soldering irons on. And so underneath now, all these things were also in a drawer. Here's my wire cutters, my wire strippers. Here's an IC puller, my fiberglass pen, my helping hand, my tip cleaner. So that all that is accessible now, and I don't have to go digging in a drawer in it anymore. So I'm really happy with the way the workbench looks now, and it just works so much better for me. So I hope some of these organization tips are helpful to you. So now I'll go over a couple things that I bought real recently in the past week or two, and I'll start right here. All right, so the first thing I bought is this spool of what's called wire wrapping wire. Seems kind of repetitive, wire wrapping wire, but that's what it's called. And I learned about this from the other day. I was on Clay Harrell's pinball repair site, on his Pinball Ninja site, watching some of his repair videos. And this is a 30 gauge wire with an insulation on it, so really thin wire. And what he was using it for was to make jumper wires, either for jumper in to use different ROM chips, or if you have you lift a trace, you can use this to replace the trace, and it just works real good. So I bought this roll of wire wrapping wire, maybe on Amazon. It was $5, but I've been watching Clay's videos for, I don't know, 15 years now, 10, 15 years. Never seen it before, so as soon as I saw it, I was like, wow, that's cool, and I bought it. Alright, I also picked up these crimpers. I did a pinball tool spotlight on crimping pinball connectors, and the spotlight was on this tool. I got this tool on Amazon. This is the HT-225D full cycle ratchet crimping tool and this is for all pinball connectors, 0.156, 0.100. You can also use it on the 0.093 Molex and amp connector pins, and these are great. They do both crimps on the pin in one ratchet, one crimp, unlike my old Walden tools crimper, where I had to crimp the pin down and then flip to the other die and crimp the insulation. This does it in one shot, so they just work beautifully. It makes beautiful crimps. If you're looking for a crimper, I definitely would go on Amazon, spend the $23 on this tool. It's really great. Alright, so while I was on Amazon looking for crimpers, I came across this crimp tool. And this crimp tool is for crimp terminals that are used on pinball machines. Usually you'll see them on rectifier bridges, sometimes on some inline fuse holders. Will have these kind of terminal ends on them. And ever since I was a kid, tinkering with electrical stuff, I was using these to crimp those terminals. And these things stink. I always hated these things. And I don't know how long this kind of a crimper for those kind of connectors has existed, but man, I would have gotten these years ago had I known about them. So these are great. Now I'm going to show you how these work right now. Alright, so these crimpers are part number HS-30J. I'll put a link to the Amazon link for this down below. These were $18, and they are a crimp terminal ratchet and crimp tool. And I'll show you how it works. So we got our crimp connectors here. Got eyelets. We got these spade connectors. We got these, which are used a lot on like arcade power supplies. I also went a little crazy with the label maker and was labeling and organizing my crimp tools here. So like I said previously, I was using this junky tool that we all probably have in our toolboxes, and it just does not make a good crimp on these. You know, you're almost better off using a pair of pliers to crimp these with them. But this tool works much better. So let's do a crimp here. So I labeled this wire side. You can also remember the side with the colors on it is the side that you insert the wire on. So we're going to put the terminal in from the back, put it in the blue die, and we want the end of the terminal flush with the end of the die here. Ratchet it down till it holds it, and then we'll take our piece of wire here and strip some off. Then we're going to take our wire, insert it in the connector. Once we got that in there, crimp it down until the tool releases. And then the terminal gets stuck in here. I read in the reviews you can put a little grease on these dies and it'll help to release it. I just use a little screwdriver and it makes a perfect crimp. I mean, that is perfect crimp every time. Unlike when using this tool, sometimes you would crimp it and then you'd wiggle the wire in the connector and you could feel play, and then you just wasted a terminal and you got to do it again. That's not going to happen with this tool. It makes a perfect crimp every time. So HS-30J wire terminal ratchet and crimp tool, 18 bucks on Amazon. I definitely recommend picking that up if you don't have one of these. Also, I'll give you a little sneak peek on the roller games restoration. The restoration update video on this, part number 4, will hopefully be coming out next week or the week after. Just letting the black paint, it's all painted black, I'm letting that dry. And hopefully this Sunday I'll be doing the clear coat, and then we'll be starting to put this thing together, so really exciting. Alright, so I also bought this. This is a Hyper Tough, which is a Walmart, the Walmart brand of tools. 2 amp 1/4 inch sheet sander. I wish I would have bought this when I was sanding the roller games cabinet, but I didn't. So anyway, I've been addicted to watching John's Arcade lately, and he uses one of these a lot. And I have an orbital sander, but there's a lot of spots where you can't get the orbital sander in, or you don't need the orbital part of the sander. So a lot of stuff that I was doing by hand, I can now do with this. And this is from Walmart. Once again, it's their Hyper Tough. It's their cheap China tools line. And it is $13. That's it, $13. And the advantage to this is you can use just your regular sheets of sandpaper. You fold this sandpaper fold it in half, and then fold it in half again, cut it into 4 pieces, and the sander takes 1 piece of that sheet. So you get 4 uses out of 1 sheet. And you just clamp it onto the bottom of the sander, and it just clamps in real easy. They give you 1 sheet of 80 grit sandpaper. I guess you can't complain. Tool's only 13 bucks. And they give you a little dust collection bag that probably won't work very good, just like the orbital sanders. But for 13 bucks, like I said, I wish I would have had this when I was sanding the roller games cabinet, but it'll come in great use on my next project. So I haven't used it yet, but I've seen people use it and it works great. And it's 13 bucks, so you can't go wrong. Alright, and the last package I have here, I'm going to save this one as a surprise, and I'll be doing a video on this either next week or the week after, depending upon if I get the Roller Games Restoration Update number 4 out next week or not. This I ordered directly from China. It is a tool that I've been wanting to get for a long time, and I'm very excited about it. And I'm very excited to do the video on it to show you guys what it is and how it works and how cheap it was. But like I said, I'm going to do that in either next week or the following week, so look forward to that video. Alright, so the last thing that I've gotten recently or at least the only other thing that I've gotten recently that I can think of, for my tripod, I got a set of these fold-in wheels. And these are real good because now I can wheel the tripod around. Just helps me make the videos better. got those off Amazon. I think they were like 30 bucks or something. Once again, John at John's Arcade uses one of these. That's where I got the idea from. Alright, so that'll do it for this little quick workshop, pinball workshop update. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something in the video or saw something that maybe you'll want to use in your pinball workshop. If you liked the video and you're not subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. If you have any comments or feedback, leave it down below, and that'll do it until next week. This is Pin Dude from My Vintage Pinball. Thanks for watching. See ya.